What's your story?
I am a success story, yeah. Success, a success story. I am a success story, yeah. Success, a success story. I am a success story, yeah.
Welcome back, Sunrise Nation. So we have a question for you. What does it really mean to be a man today? And are we giving men and boys enough space to talk about the pressures they face, from mental health and emotional suppression to societal expectations and financial pressures? The Ombre Movement Jamaica is working to break the silence and create safe spaces for men and boys to be heard, supported, and empowered. This morning, we're joined by Ombre Executive Director Lasan Blake and Director of Research and Publications Anil Madden to talk about reshaping the mentality, building healthier communities, and redefining what it means to be a man. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. And
Thank you. Good morning.
I'll sit in on this one, you know. We always need a little touch of the ladies on this. But, you know, let me jump in and ask. First of all, I think this is such a great idea. Yes. I think it's so needed. But first of all, what is Ombre? What's the goal of Ombre? And what inspired you guys to start it?
All right, so Ombre,
okay.
Understanding Male Biases and Redefining Expectations is the play on word of the Spanish hombre.
Hold on, say that again. What is that for? Hombre?
Understanding Male Biases and Redefining Expectations.
Wow.
That's so smart.
So, you know, Spanish hombre, which means man. And so we just played on that and we got our version of hombre. And we thought it was necessary to create a space where men can feel comfortable to talk about issues affecting them and to challenge some of the stigmas and stereotypes affecting men. And we started back in 2022. At the time, I was working at a particular institution as a young lecturer, and Lasan, along with two other students at the time, have to mention them, Kelron Bellot and Denver Smith. They were under a tree on a bench talking, and as a young lecturer, you know, interacting with students, I went to find out what they were talking about or what they were doing. And I realized that they were talking about these challenges that were affecting, you know, young men. And I was like, okay, let's talk more. And so I became their mentor at the time, and that's how we started Ombre. And we just found, you know, it was necessary and needed for men to have these communities where they can talk about a lot of things that we bottle up, you know, as men. And of course, we can agree that these things affect men on a wider scale in the society. Looking back at statistics coming from 2024, for example, in terms of suicide. And in fact, just recently in the news, we see that there's a spike again in suicide cases. In 2024, the statistics reported that there were about 66 suicide cases reported in Jamaica, and of the 66, 61 of them were men. Wow. So, you know, that's a very serious case, and we want to be able to advocate for men and to let them know that, listen, what you're facing is not unique to you. There are other men with these challenges as well, but we can be a support system for each other.
Yes. So, Sir Blake, the motto is reshaping the mentality. I know we just heard about suicide and men, but what are some of the biggest harmful ideas about masculinity in Jamaica right now? And how is Ombre seeking to change that?
I'd say one of the biggest ones would be, we've said it in different ways over the years, but it's essentially hold up your stress. So men, and especially Jamaican men, are expected to always hold up your stress and keep it inside. And I feel like that alone contributes to so much that is happening with men and in our society. If you talk to persons who are probably in lockup, so you know, I'm a police officer as well, so I see that majority of the persons that we bring in, are majority of the offenders for certain criminal activities are men, and a lot of these men were dealing with that stigma. So Jamaican men in general are encouraged to have this tough demeanor or this strong or gangster vibes, and they do it to try to fit in, and they always act as if nothing is wrong, and then they find bad ways or illegal ways to cope or to feel cool, because that gives them some, that makes them feel good for the moment. You know, so I think that's something that we really need to change and kind of just change that mindset that not only the men have, because sometimes we do these things to impress women, because women want a gangster, they want a money man. Because even the other day I was at a school and there's this guy, typical pretty boy in high school, you know, fresh haircut, dye up, pants dropped down, all of that, and I approached him and I was talking to him and I was asking him why isn't he at class, and because of how I approach him in a calm way, he was telling me that really and truly he's not interested in what school is offering, but what he's doing now, he knows when he leaves school, he's not going to be able to get the women, so he might get them from now by doing things so he might roll like gangster and galley. So that was the conversation that we had. And right there, I'm like, no, we need to, these are the things that we're teaching them from the young and making them feel like they need to do this to impress the lady. And then when they go out in the world now and it's time to get serious, they see that they need a job, they need money, the first thing that they go to is some illegal activity. So there's so much stemming from that one little stigma or stereotype that we have. So much. That's just like 2 examples, but there are a lot more.
So you're talking especially about, okay, jobs. They have to be thinking about the jobs in the future and, you know, giving them a space to speak. It's not just about talking to the gentlemen. It's also help with job applications. There's academic support. There's things like that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So, I mean, one of my primary jobs is that of an educator at the university level. And so, whether in an informal or formal way, we try to provide that support for men. The truth is that if we even look at our university statistics, the ratio between men and women, you know, outperform men by a large percentage. And so I want to say that I tend to look out for male students because I understand the challenges that a lot of them go through. And sometimes it's just a matter of not knowing what exists and to provide access and support for these men. So you want to find a job. Okay, and I find that sometimes going through university, the thing that you're supposed to prepare students for, they need to be able to write a cover letter and a CV to be able to apply for a job, but you have the content knowledge, but then you don't have a CV or a cover letter that will propel you to get a job at the end of the day. So we provide that sort of support in terms of providing access to like scholarships and grants where, you know, if you're struggling, then we can guide you in terms of where you can look to get these kinds of support so that you can become a better person, a better man, because
and we need more good men.
Yes.
And we need more good people, you know, but we especially need more good men.
So you have 2 big things coming up, exclusives. You have a Man Up mentorship program, and you also have an inaugural Men's Day conference in November. So speak to us about those 2 briefly.
All right. You want to take the mentorship?
Yes. All right. So for Man Up is, we're actually trying to redefine that term. So normally, when you hear man up growing up in Jamaica, I'd say it's a toxic term. You drop, you cut your knee instead of cry, they tell you to man up. You're a man, you're rough, you don't need to cry. So that's what we're used to. And I think it's one of those key terms that we need to change into something else. So we want to have that program reaching out to youth from an early stage, providing access to certain opportunities, giving them direct mentors in the fields that they'd want to go to. So for me, when I was in high school, I was saying, all right, Dr. Blake, that's where I want to go. I want to become a doctor. But to find a doctor, I can't just go into a doctor office, and most of them were Indians. I don't know if that's still the case. So I go to them and say, hey, I can't just say, hey, I want you to be my mentor. It feels weird. So, you know, we're going to actually have this program where we're connecting persons that are in the spaces that they want to go, and that person can guide them. And then also, if from an early stage they say, all right, I want to go to med school, I want to do this, I want to do that, we can outline a process for them, or have persons in the field outline the process. They know that, all right, I need to do this now, I need to that, so they don't have to say leave high school and then they're running all over the place. I didn't do this subject, I didn't do that. So man up, and there's also a mental health side to it. As I said, we're redefining the term. So these persons will also form a support system for them So they have a safe space. Somebody can go to, hey, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. Because what we're trying to do, we're trying to create better men who can positively contribute to society. So that program will focus on holistic development. It's still being worked on. We're working on the proposal to send out to different agencies. We'd want to partner with the Ministry of Education. I'm also trying to bring the Jamaica Constabulary Force on board, so working on that now. And it has a nice meaning. So MANUP will be an abbreviation. Mr. Madden here is the one who's creative with the words. It's a long meaning. So I don't have it now.
I'm sure you can speak about
but we're still working on the proposal, and you can check out the Ombre Instagram or Facebook page, so Ombre Jamaica, UMBRE, and more information will be placed on those platforms.
Okay.
Nice.
And so the inaugural conference that we're looking to host, so as someone who has a column in the Newsbeat, in one of Jamaica's leading newspapers, weekly, I often articulate on these issues around like Father's Day, International Men's Day. And one of the things that we've noticed is that, and this is not to bash women or anything, but the fanfare surrounding Father's Day and International Men's Day is not as great as Mother's Day and Women's Day. You have all the conferences and the talk shows and everything that takes place. But when it comes on to men, we really don't have anything. So I remember articulating something around Father's Day, and so I wrote a piece in the newspaper with Demaria Patterson, which is one of our directors at Ombre, and it caused the editorial board of the newspaper to respond to our piece to say, listen, men must lead the celebration of men. And they agree with the editors, that we need to take that in charge. And so on that basis, we decided that, listen, nothing of the sort has been done, at least, to our knowledge. So we are looking to host an inaugural men's conference coming up in November. It might not be on International Men's Day because it will fall in the week, but it may be at the weekend.
Love
In
that.
celebration of.
So that's all like we need to bring both of you back
Absolutely.
to speak about that, as well as to let us know how men like Jason, I'm sure, would be of great contribution and a great mentor, how men can really participate and help this movement forward. So, but for now, if we want any more information, we can just go on the Ombre JA Instagram page, is what you mentioned, right?
Ombre JA on Instagram, Ombre Jamaica on the other platforms.
Ombre JA and Ombre Jamaica. Love that. Love that. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. From mentorship and empowerment to creating safe spaces for honest conversations, Ombre is challenging men and boys to move beyond silence and toward support, accountability, unity, and purpose. That's on. Blake and O'Neill Madden, thank you so much for joining us and giving us some really, really good information. And thank you for what you're doing to give men and boys a really great voice, in this time. So coming up next, we wrap today's edition of Sunrise. Stay with us.
We're dreamers. Don't care what other people say. We live it.